One of our favorite guests, Pro Football Hall of Famer, Emmy Award-winning analyst for the NFL on Fox, and all-around great human, Howie Long. How are you, Howie?
I'm doing well, Rich. How are you? How's the training going? You look great.
Well, you know, Glaze is molding me. Are you aware of that? It's Glazer's gym I'm going to. Uh-oh, that's not the reaction I wanted to hear. Oh, no, he's still laughing.
Oh, look.
Howie, I love Howie.
What in your head, what are you envisioning?
I am envisioning.
Are you envisioning like, Shannon Sharp?
No, I'm envisioning, Howie, there is some big man on campus, literally and figuratively right now, going to go to the combine and run slow enough for me to beat him.
Oh, I think that's real. I think you could do that if you actually.
That's my goal.
You know, they train. It's how far it's come. I mean, there's a gym at not to get off subject, but it is the same subject.
Okay.
There's a gym at Villanova called the Jake Nevin Gym. And if you've ever been to Villanova, it's just a little matchbox of a gym. And he was our old trainer who's since passed away and fabulous guy. But I ran for people have pro days. When you're at a small school like Villanova, you run like 50 times. I ran on my front lawn of my dorm. Some guy and his scout and his girlfriend were in the car, and they checked me off the box and ran me on the front lawn in sneakers. Well, it was a torrential downpour and couldn't run. And there wasn't a 40-yard stretch in the Jake Nevin Gym, so I had to start catty corner in the hallway and run across the gym and end in the other hallway, and there wasn't enough runway to stop. So you'd end up hitting the wall. But nowadays, these guys train so much, I don't think there's any question. I think the slowest guy was maybe the tackle from Baltimore.
Yeah, Mama last year from USC, Mama ran like 5'8" and change, and I think if Mama shows up at the 2019 Combine, Mama is going to be
going down.
Mama's going to say, "Who's your daddy?" You know what I'm saying? You see where I'm going with that?
If you actually, I know you've trained for it in the past, but just actually getting ready not to have something snap and it turn into like those funny cars where the car explodes 3/4 of the way through the. You don't want that, Rich.
No, I do not want that. That's correct.
Although,
yes,
as they say in our business, that would be great TV. Because the car wreck sells. And if you exploding or popping something, I mean, people would say really nice things, and they go, "Oh, I'm so sorry for Rich. What a tragic, and such a great cause and all that." But at the end of the day, all they really care about in that production room, is good TV.
That's. By the way, no wonder you and Mayock are tight and best friends, because you're basically channeling exactly what he'd be saying right now, Howie.
Well, Mike
exactly.
and I are cut from the same cloth.
You are. You're both guys from the old Philly area. All right, Howie. Let's get to the here and now, right now, in the NFL. Would you be?
We glossed right over that Oakland thing, didn't we?
No. Oh yeah, let's do it. Yeah, let's get to it. Well, yeah, I did get off it. So what do you think?
I took the Lewis and Clark route to get you past that.
No, I appreciate you bringing me back to center right here, because I did want to start with you on that front. When you just heard what Gruden had to say, and whether you do believe this is the last Raiders game in Oakland coming up on Monday.
It is. If in fact it is, it's really sad, and it's. I think we've had this conversation before. I started my career there, and being drafted by the Oakland Raiders, and once again, the history of the year before I was drafted, they had won the Super Bowl. It was that team that was the first wild card team to win in '81, 80, but the '80 season, '81 Super Bowl. Some of the greatest players in NFL history have played for that organization in that stadium. So many historical moments. Totally agree. At the end of the day, you've been to the stadium, Rich.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
You've been in the bowels of the stadium. You understand what we're talking about. An NFL team, if you're going to compete, cannot compete with that kind of a stadium. And in a perfect world, the county would have worked something out, but there's just no money there, and that's the shame of it, because I know this for a fact. Mark Davis's number 1, 2, and 3 choice was to stay in Oakland, and unfortunately, that just couldn't be worked out in any way, shape, or form. And now the reality is that the team's going to move to Vegas. Not sure when. Right now it's scheduled for not next season, but the season after. And now there's a lawsuit, which would, if there's that kind of a lawsuit, put yourself in their shoes. Why would you play in a stadium where you're being sued?
Right. So what's your favorite memory of the Black Hole, Howie, if you could choose one from your memory banks?
I played a game on, having gone to Villanova, I was a huge Steeler fan. And could, every player on that defense, loved every one of them. Joe Green, as a matter of fact, the reason why I took 75 was Joe Green. And my rookie year, I lived with a guy named Cedric Hardman. And Cedric was about 34 years old, 33, 34 years old at the time. Old San Francisco 49er defensive end from the Gold Rush with Jimmy Webb and, guys that I'm throwing out there that people won't know. But Cedric was a great pass rusher. He was also Joe Green's roommate in college at North Texas State. So my rookie year, we're playing the Steelers at the Coliseum on Monday Night Football. And Joe Green comes over to our little apartment that we have in Alameda, and I'm sitting there at dinner with Joe Green. And end up playing the Steelers, get a couple sacks. And I remember jumping up and down and going crazy. And here I am, I'm 21 years old, and, we just got done playing Delaware, and now I'm playing the Steelers. And I remember Art Shell said to me, "Kid, act like you've been there before." I haven't, though. No, so there were some great memories. To me, it was that fan base there is so rabid. It's so crazy. And it truly is a team that transcends that area, though. There's great fans in Los Angeles. I think, I feel for the Chargers right now because they have a great football team, and they seem to be kind of a nomadic team. And there's the stadium they're in right now. It's a small stadium, and 60-70% of the fans in the stadium are opposing teams' fans.
And it's amazing in that regard, too, Howie, is that Howie Long, Fox Sports here on the Rich Eisen Show, is that it looks like the Chargers have a better chance of hosting a championship game now than the Rams, and you were at that Rams-Eagles game on Sunday night.
Yeah.
Who did we learn about more in that game, do you think? If I gave you a choice between the Rams and the Eagles, who did we learn about more as a viability of a threat in this year's playoff race?
Well, for the Eagles, it's, they back themselves into a corner. They've had a slew of injuries in key spots. I thought Smallwood gave them a real burst in the run game, and once that run game gets settled in, and the two tackles, did a phenomenal job. And when you're talking about blocking, a guy like the Rams have, Aaron Donald, you're talking about a kind of a group effort, and it's always a group effort. And he's going to get doubled probably 70-80% of the time. And you take your chances with everyone else, and you leave your tackles on an island, and and Nick, for whatever reason, and I read and have seen people give a perspective on what's different in the offense. I think there's a when you're game planning for an opponent, you've got a quarterback like a Carson Wentz or a fill in the blank, whoever the quarterback is. You tend to kind of just say, well, Carson will bail us out. So you're not scheming things up to help the quarterback necessarily, and I'm not sure if that's the case, but I think they work within the game plan on making things run easier for the backup, and he has the opportunity to kind of make more plays around the field, and certainly Alshon Jeffrey, I think, was a beneficiary of that the other night. Some blown coverages. For the Rams, for me, the blown coverages on defense are one thing, and then obviously the punt fumble at the end of the game, which was a huge, huge swing moment in the game. But on offense, and it's the same thing you saw in Minnesota. Minnesota decided to run the football, and all of a sudden the quarterback looks better, the receivers look better, the defense looks better, everything looks better if you can run the football. But you have to be committed to running the football. And Todd Gurley right now is not right physically. And if they can't, everything they do, now they miss Cooper Kupp, the wide receiver, everything they do centers off of Todd Gurley. Todd Gurley makes everything, in my mind, makes everything go. He makes your protection better. He makes your quarterback better, who's an on-schedule thrower. He's not a guy who can throw off platform, reset, and throw. He's a rhythm thrower. 1, 2, 3, go through my reads, bang. And there's so much of their offensive success this year has come on play-action pass. And play-action pass is a byproduct of what? Todd Gurley. The screen game. When they can mix it up and keep you, is it a jab? Is it a left hook? Is it an overhand right? And the overhand right comes off of the run game. And when they get their run game back on track, I'm a Todd Gurley fan, and I think Sean McVay is a brilliant young coach, but I really think Todd Gurley makes that whole thing go.
Well, I mean, it's interesting, Howie, because we saw last night a Saints team that's trying to find a number 2 for Thomas, and they're struggling in that regard. And you could make a great case, though, that Kamara and Ingram and even Taysom Hill make up for that, and the fact that there's no one else for Gurley, and now we're wondering if the number 3 receiver in Kupp missing is the missing ingredient for the Rams, who have 2 great guys in Cooks and in Woods. So I ask you this question: when you and the rest of your Fox compadres are on the air for an NFC Championship game on the road, I'm assuming you're going to be in New Orleans. Just assume that. Who's the team?
I mean, right now, when I was looking at their schedule, I think the league did a great job of, at the end of the season, these divisional games, as we've seen, are always more challenging. That Carolina game was that Carolina defense rose up and kind of gave you ghosts of Christmas past. That's who Carolina's defense is. And they just didn't get enough help from the offense. And it's obvious that Cam is not right physically. Yeah,
the ghost of Cam present, unfortunately, it looks that way.
I'm going to give 2 things about Cam. Lots been made of Cam post-game in previous years. I think under Norv, we saw the best Cam can be on the field. And from what I've seen from Cam in post-game interviews, let's give Cam some credit.
Yep.
Cam says it starts with me. I let the group down, and he's not right physically.
Yeah, he flat out talked about how he just doesn't have it in his shoulder right now. So
well, and here's what it is, Rich. He's not a leg thrower. He doesn't throw with his legs. And what I mean by, of course, he doesn't throw with his legs, doesn't throw with his feet. What I mean is he's not leveraged. Sure. He's not a leveraged leg thrower. He's not using his legs. Cam's ball comes out all from the upper body. So when something fails there, it's off target, and that hurts them.
So then, before I let you go, Howie, if you are in New Orleans, give me the team that's the best. You think has the best possibility of showing up there in an NFC Championship game. Out of the rest of the mix?
Well, it's interesting that, it started in Dallas and there's been a couple other games, and Baltimore played them tough. I think kind of we understand what the best formula is for stopping them, or at least slowing them down, holding them to 21 or 23. That Chicago defense travels really well. Minnesota again. The Minnesota team we saw this past week, I think for whatever reason, the coordinator and the head coach were looking at the world through a totally different prism. And that can't work. When you've got 2 backs like that, think about that. 2 backs like that, wide receivers like that, a defense that can get you 10, 11 sacks in a game. Play to your strength. It makes your quarterback better. It makes your offensive line, which has been an issue, better, and it makes your defense better. I think Minnesota, I think Chicago's defense. I'm a big Vic Fangio fan, and I know everyone's looking for the next wonderkind at head coach from a young offensive mind. Leadership is as important as anything, and the guy in Minnesota is a great example of that. And Vic Fangio certainly deserves somebody really looking hard at that guy being a head coach, because he's been special. He was special in San Francisco with those great defenses, and he's been special in Chicago. That defense is so sound, so good, up front, second level, third level, really good.
All right, Howie, thanks for coming on. As always, love the chat. And thanks for driving Mike Del Tufo to the game on Sunday night.
We had a ball. We were in traffic. It was parts of the city that I've never been to, because we were with Jake from Fox.
Right.
He's an executive. I knew him when he was doing some shady things at USC as an undergrad, but we won't talk about that right now.
But
he's really cleaned it up, and he's an executive at Fox.
No, but Mike's not a backseat driver. And by the way, those are two questions. Is Mike not a backseat driver? And number two, why do you drive yourself, Howie? I mean,
I always drive myself, Rich. If it goes down, Rich, I want some stranger knowing that I've got to go up on the curb and get my butt out of there? Hey, Rich, on my feet or in my truck, I'm hard to kill.
Wait a minute. That's not. You were not in Hard to Kill. That's a Steven Seagal movie. I mean,
no, that's a movie. This is real.
Okay. Okay.
That's acting.
Okay.
I know just a skosh about acting. Let's not get carried away.
Okay. All right. And Del Tufo's
Thanks, Howie.
There you go. Okay, thanks for taking care of Michael for us, Howie.
Yeah, he was great. He's a good man.
All right, look at you. You blue check mark from Howie Long.
Yes, of course.
I've known him since God knows how long.
It's over 20 years, Hal.
Yeah, it's been a long time.
Do you let him control the radio at least? Does he?
No. Nobody touches the radio.
Take care of yourself, Howie. Say hi to your family.
Right. Take care, partner.
You bet. Right back at you. Howie Long, Pro Football Hall of Fame.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern on Audience.